solitude. Épisode 9. Les Rêves Indigo. Indigo Dreams.
Hi, darling.
I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry for all of it. I have no explanation for it. I mean, I have, but
I think it was time for me to visit your lair.
Elle, really? That's all you have to tell me after that behavior of mine?
Of course not. Come on, show it to me a bit.
What?
Freeda, your lair!
Oh, okay.
Wow. Oh, Freeda, you didn't tell me you have such a nice place.
You like it?
Of course. Who wouldn't? The concrete floor is here. You were really serious.
I'm always serious.
A kitchen and... stop. Please go back. Ouais, voilà. Your plants are this big.
Just a few of them that I can take care of. My mom grew them to be this big. And they're not so demanding to maintain.
And you still use diffuser. I'm glad that it's still in your daily routine. It seems that this break has done you good.
Just some combo of cumin, coriander, and chamomile to adapt myself to all this what's been hitting me for 3 months since our last meeting. It's been a bit too warm for tea. Do you want us to speak in Croatian?
No, s'il te plaît. That would be a bit too much for me. Let's start with some easier topics and enjoy ourselves after such a long time. So, what's wrong?
I really didn't plan to avoid you. And please don't think that I forgot you because I was having a great time and I didn't need you. On the contrary,
I have to admit I was worried, especially for the first 2 weeks. But thankfully, you love my Monique, so she told me what happened and that you were fine.
I love you too, Elle. Please, never doubt that. First, I was in shock and I didn't have time for explanations. Then I talked to Monique and I thought how she would tell you everything that happened. As the time went by, I became very busy and I was postponing calling you back as I knew we would need more than 10 minutes and 10 minutes was all I had. And before going to bed, I would be so tired in the last 2 months that I didn't have any energy for us. I can't check you off just like that. I know these are just excuses, but as I didn't do it right away, the shame for not reaching you only grew inside of me. And I also wanted to call you when I didn't need you.
But now, you need me.
Yes. But first, how are you? Monique informed me that you were fine replanting your plants and staying at home. I guess it's all the same between you two.
Yes, nothing changed. There wasn't a moment I just didn't find time to tell her. You know how it goes. But, good. Good. I'm good. Never better. Replanting, writing some materials about our process. It was good, all that we've done. This break helped me to see some things from another perspective as well.
Good. I missed you. Even more than I ever thought I could have. Please don't be mad at me. I'm just me, reckless, sloppy, superficial, unthoughtful.
Stop. What is all this? I just said we did a great job. I'm not mad at you. But please, don't make me mad now, really. And, Freeda, I am never easily angered. You know that. Okay. What happened that I don't know that poured all those thoughts back into your pretty little head?
I don't know what Monique told you. Oh, by the way, thank you for your message of condolence. I didn't even return the thanks. At that moment, I wanted to call you, but it wasn't a good moment, and then all of this that I mentioned happened. Well, I feel completely powerless, without any kind of strength. After our windy stroll, nothing was going the right way. I did everything in my power, but when life wants it the other way, it always wins. You just cannot fight it. In these kinds of situations, we should surrender right away. But this stubborn head still doesn't know the difference between being persistent, hardworking, and letting things go. I know that you don't know, because I didn't tell Monique either. I didn't want you two to worry. I had an operation of my knee recently.
The knee? The left one?
Yes.
But, when? Okay. Where? Why? I mean, you said you had it under control. But, bref, how are you?
Elle, you see? This is why I didn't want to tell you. All's fine. Keep it cool. I had it under control, as you witnessed here in Paris, for some time, until I injured it again.
Quoi? Encore une fois?
Yeah. For the second and the third and, I don't know, fourth time. Who knows?
Merde.
Elle, it's okay now. I'm fine, really. I mean, as fine as I can be. Look, I'm not clumsy, but when I'm angry, sad, disappointed, and who knows what else, yes, I become clumsy. I injured myself again on my way back to Zagreb at the airport while catching the flight to get to the funeral. Nothing special. If you saw it, you wouldn't believe that it was possible to happen that way. Anyway, as it hasn't healed, it just burst, I guess. And finally, I missed the flight.
And the funeral?
If that happened too, I could never forgive myself. This mauvaise condition helped me at least in one thing. So when they saw me so devastated, the ground staff at the airport did everything in their power to somehow send me on my way to Croatia. You don't want a devastated actress nearby if that's really not necessary. Yeah. Thank God for Anna, my very good long-term colleague. She told me the sad news. Otherwise, I would have found out about it from the newspapers, like most of the other people do. Even though people didn't know that we were close, as we didn't spend so much time together, he was very close to my heart, and one of the most special friends I've ever had. He was so special that I felt special just because of being his friend. Maybe I even wasn't his friend, considering how little I knew about him. But he was mine, and I'll stick to that. In the end, our thoughts are ours only, right? Lots of people inspired me, but rare ones were my inspiration and motivation at the same time. Because of him, I dared to dream. Because of him, I dared to truly meet myself. Very often people talk about childhood friends like that. But I was pretty adult when he came into my life. I was 27. Oh, yeah. And just like everything else in my life, he didn't come by himself. I had to invite him. But I found him when I had seriously decided to start the search for my authenticity. A mutual collaborator put us in contact. He was an artist of a kind who lived in his own world, in his somewhere city. Who does that? I mean, who does that at the beginning of his 40s? Who makes up a whole new flying city and creates more than 4,000 characters to live in? The rare ones. The ultra-rare creative minds. For him, illusion didn't exist. Everything was reality for him. He once said that our reality is fake, as people somehow managed to make it falsely real. Come on! That's how he put it. Reality is something else, and illusion is a convenient word that sounds like an excuse if in the so-called real world one dares to play. He believed that there is absolutely no need to apologize to anyone for play and imagination, or to call it an illusion. He would say, from the moment we were born, we entered a world of imagination richly supplied with gifts and channels for connection. Those were his words. Since he was a child, he was building his own world by drawing its special inhabitants who were supposed to make our world a better place. He was really one of the ultra-rare ones. When a disease affects less than 1 in 2,000, that's called rare. But when we talk about 1 in 50,000 newborns, that's called ultra-rare.
Merci, Freeda.
I'm sorry, just to put it. Unfortunately, due to this orphan disease, the one so-called where there is no existing treatment to cure it, in this case that prevents the skull, cheek, and jaw bones from developing properly.
Ah, okay.
From an early age, he was bedridden, almost like Frida Kahlo, and therefore left to himself, right? He had his family, of course. But being different means being alone in the middle of crowded Times Square. So unlike most of the kids, he had to invent his friends. By the age of 10, he had 27 operations. So the hospital was his second home. For hours and days, he would draw his friends. He realized very early that if you are not good on your own, your job is done on this planet. And his spirit wanted to live so much. He took what he had and he made the best out of it. He is the real example of how you make your wings out of your wounds. His small cap, circle glasses, and his indigo blue outfit, they will never leave my sight. Everything was blue. He loved that color. He was kind of immersed in it. It was really authentic. You couldn't not notice him. His life was full of obstacles. But his friends made him travel and live all around the world. In Italy, New York, he worked for Alessi Rossi, exposed in MoMA. He was very successful. But still, he was about to make his citizens alive on a screen, so the whole world would know about his magical force. The city that constantly travels, floats across the surface of the earth, from one part of the planet to the other, changing the arrangement of streets and houses so that everybody becomes everybody's neighbor. Oh. What am I talking about? I know nothing about him. Just the crumbs that I managed to collect in our few significant gatherings throughout the decade. And then again, those crumbs brought my hope back, encouraged me to start building my own city of solitude. No one influenced and approved the blossoming of my dreams as he did. He was truly my greatest inspiration and support at that time. The only soul that really heard mine. I was trying to reach him for months. A few months before he left, I wrote to him, "Where are you? Alive? Are we going to see each other before we die?" And he was in pain and dying, and I didn't know anything about it. How often does this happen now? For the last few months, I've been trying to get an answer why it happened.
Did you get all the answers in your life right away, or you had to wait a bit? Do you remember when I told you how I believe that real life, the life that God gave us, is free from suffering, pain, misfortune, misery, guilt? I still believe it. But that doesn't mean that until we get there, if we ever manage to do it, that we don't have to go through a lot of pain. Suffering gives impetus to developmental growth, and it liberates us from the everyday burden. It is a core human experience, and in terms of the capacity to cope with the weight of life, people are great or small. Enduring failure is the greatestness of the man.
You know, I think that the fear of physical pain is greater than the pain itself. For years I was afraid, but eventually when I was fed up with suffering through the years, after the first short phase of self-pitying, followed by thoughts such as, "You've lost, and now all the way back," and finally by a crying tantrum in the supermarket in front of the bread, I wiped my tears, took a deep breath, surrendered, and felt a kind of relief. I did everything I possibly could to avoid the operation until now, so I knew that the operation is the only thing I still haven't tried.
We can be in pain when we lose someone close, have an accident. That's unchosen suffering. But when we choose to suffer, that can be for two reasons. A good one from which we will grow when we want to achieve something, and the one who is taking us down. It's incredible how the fear of suffering becomes the fear of fear, the fear of situation. The fear of death is the fear of its process with all the sufferings and feelings of abandonment and helplessness. Freeda, what was in your mind before the operation?
Well, I thought, really? That moment has come? They caught me by surprise and took me to the operation room 2 hours ahead of schedule, so maybe that shock erased all my thoughts. I remembered that as I prepared myself for this moment, life prepared me, that I wasn't so afraid. My body said no so many times, and this time it said yes. I trusted the doctor, the timing, and God. I really believed that after this moment my life was going to take a completely new path as everything was working out for me. I was calm, and I accepted everything as a divine process. I had great support from my close ones, and what surprised me, of the ones who are not so close. I felt kind of blessed.
You were ready for it, and therefore present.
Yes, I was taking it step by step. I informed myself a bit, trusted my trainer and people who went through a similar experience. And I went on a journey that's still ongoing.
The further progress of humanity requires people who have gone through troubles and suffering. They are the source of light, the creators of the future. The meaning of suffering, however, can actually only be that in the end, there is no more suffering. I'm repeating myself. But in all these years of keeping up with your needs, did you get some answers? Of course, if you asked, and I know that you did, as you are all knitted with questions. But Freeda, what is the real question behind this big emotional loss? Why do we cry when someone dies?
Because we feel love towards them.
Can someone cry after someone dies, even if they don't love that person that passed away? Even if they are not close, and even out of a relief?
I guess yes.
And that's not love, right?
No, not that kind of love. I suppose they somehow connect to this collective trauma of loss, and all the present people become whole somehow. They become empathic. But then again, maybe it's love towards a part of us that dies with them?
Okay. We cry because the part of us reflected in that person, or an animal, dies. Okay? Usually it is the good part of us. But I remember crying for someone who died that was connected to the part that I didn't love. The one that was constantly stopping me from protecting myself, and I felt a kind of gratitude. I didn't have the strength to change or to cut the connection, so when this person left, I said goodbye to this old part of me who wasn't serving my growth anymore.
With his departure, I lost someone who believed in big dreams. Someone who agreed and proved to me that the rich inner world is the safest place on earth, and that we came here to reveal our true self.
Do you feel as if he abandoned you? As if you were abandoned one more time.
Maybe in a partial way. But it's different now. I learned what true freedom and attachment is in the meantime.
Did you cross your borders there?
No. No, he was a true friend. He didn't let me. Yeah, he didn't let me. He stayed true to himself, so I accepted who he was very soon. And I knew what I could expect from him. Then everything else was only a gift. You know what? I feel empathy for the world's loss.
Good. He really taught you some lessons.
Yeah. And therefore by only living his own dream. Some people might think it was selfish of him. And maybe it really was. But from my perspective, he lived it the right way. His own way. Not some else's way. Is it possible that all of us have to suffer in our own way? Because somehow I feel, I don't know, but I feel that everyone in life gets the opportunity to transform.
If needed. There are some of us, the rare ones, who don't have to go through their lives in that way, okay? They are adapted to life. I mean, their true self from the start. And they come to this world to be the light for the rest of us. I am talking about those who are at peace with themselves.
I hope I will meet more of those ones soon.
If you start doing good to one person daily, you will, for sure. You will feel good, and as similar attracts similar, more good will come.
If only it would be that easy. From the lives of my heroes, with no capes, I learned how our burdens become wings. Only, but only if we are fighters. And the bridge that takes us over is our creativity. Their creative moments became their freedom that took them to another world, better than the one they lived in, the one without suffering. Today, I can completely relate to that as my pain diminishes when I compose. And at the end, when all fruit comes out of it, the pain gets its sense. Early in their age, they had to start digging on their own. And that's why they were all the time ahead of most of us who led normal everyday life without bigger obstacles.
As Marcus Aurelius would say, the impediment to action advances action. The obstacle becomes the way.
Well, yeah, he was right. I suppose. When I was younger, I read somewhere that it is a misfortune to never have a misfortune because happiness makes us fatter and calamity thirsty. At that point, of course, I couldn't understand that. But I cannot share this with everyone. Some people just cannot understand it. If I would tell someone whose child is sick that this would only make them stronger, most parents would understand it and would consider me rude.
Yes, but only those who didn't get the key of long ago locked doors through their lives. You see, according to an research in Hanover, merci. There are groups of patients who, after being shaken by their disease or some kind of trauma, eventually do or don't manage to give their life a new meaning. Only in one group, patients managed to find the purpose of confronting their misfortune. In all other groups, patients were letting all their hope to the doctors, to life, and to God. One group just wanted to be fixed, as cars, or cleaned as suit at the dry cleaners. As for them, suffering is useless. The misfortune for them is part of nature, and nothing can be done about it. Second group accepts it as a part of God's will, as a punishment, and does not question it anymore. The third one protests against the disease but takes no step further in questioning. The fourth one questions it, but goes in a circle as it always ends with inexplicable inadequacies in God's power with questions as, why me? Why do innocent kids suffer? Why does God allow all this? Bref, finally, as the answer to that hasn't shown yet, they end up in despair, resignation, and depression.
Oh, it's not easy for you. All these groups of individuals, personnages.
Groups of individuals. Are they individuals when they are in all these groups? Maybe the ones in the fifth one, who realize the meaning of illness or trauma, and whose life is renewed thanks to it. Those who are born for second time. What is for you an individual?
My beloved friend that passed away, for example. And all my close friends, as a matter of fact.
And you are a flock of sheep.
Of course not. Of course not. Why? But wait. Why does some proverb or something connected to sheep ring my bell?
You cannot make a man by standing a sheep on its hind legs. But by standing a flock of sheep in that position, you can make a crowd of a man. Well, Max Beerbohm. But I had in mind a definition of an individual.
In short, the disobedient ones.
By who?
By me.
No! Putain, my English. I mean, disobedient according to whom?
Unlike the sinners. According to communities, systems, states, families.
Like the sinners? Oh la la, Freeda. What kind of sinners are you talking about?
The perpetrators of the 8th sin.
But aren't there only 7 great sins?
Yes, but when you start reading again in Croatian, I will give you an amazing book called Obedience, the 8th Sin. And I'm more than sure that you will agree to most of its content. After having read it, I realized what a big sinful sheep I was almost my whole life. Listen to your teachers, adults. They know better. If something's wrong, it must have been your mistake. You talk too much and too fast without thinking, and so on. All these experiences in childhood never put me in the position of the kid who could be right. And how can a kid, later as an adult, have self-confidence or self-worth if it is not that by its birth? A strong character, or very often overprotected kid who is always right according to their parents, no matter if they are truly right or not. No one ever taught me that. Particularly our teachers, were themselves very often lost kids captured in the bodies of adults, emotionally wounded, frustrated, sad, and unaccomplished personalities.
People should only be divided on people who are accomplished and those who are not. All the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors come from that place. To feel as an accomplished person means accomplishing your own dreams, and the size of them is an individual thing. Someone's dream of being a father of a big family equals other ones of being a doctor, a drummer, finishing college, or having their own bakery or hair salon. Achievement is a personal matter. When were you disappointed by your parents for the first time?
Oof, I remember exactly. At the age of 12. From today's perspective, it wasn't a big thing, but from the perspective of a child who sees her dad as the almighty persona, it was a big moment that shook my ground. And that's one of the rare things I vividly remember. After 1 month that I spent in Italy, I was coming home, and my dad came to pick me up in the harbor of Split, 1 hour away by car from my hometown. As he parked his car near the central public market, on our way to the car, we had to go through the marketplace full of people. Right. It was summer morning, and everyone needed fresh fruit and vegetables, so you can imagine how crowded it was. At one point, there was a group of men shouting and cheering while playing some kind of local game. I stopped first, and then my father stopped to find out what took my attention. There were 3 colorful plastic cups on the street floor, and 1 small ball that was traveling between them.
Shell game. One of the oldest and most widespread forms of a sleight of hand. A swindling trick.
Yes, I guess. So, the task was to guess under which cup was the ball.
Bien sûr.
Of course, they were betting for money. My father wanted to continue walking towards the car, but the atmosphere was contagious and seduced by the crowd. I insisted we stay a few minutes more to see who would win. My dad and I were following the game, and it seemed like a pretty easy way to earn some money. At one point, the guy who was in charge of the game, the big one in white undershirt, asked my dad to play. My dad didn't want to, and he told me 1 more time that we should leave. Then somehow, in a very short few moments, my dad accepted the game and took a guess under which cup the ball was. Me and all the people present witnessed that the ball was truly there, under the cup he pointed at. Then, suddenly, my whole world crashed, as I perceived the meanness of humanity followed by my father's powerlessness and imperfection. The second after my dad said where the ball was, he started opening his wallet. And I saw that the guy with no special skill or intention to hide his fraud moved the ball under another cup. I saw it, my dad saw it, and all the people present there saw it. But when I yelled to my father that the ball was moved again, the guy next to my dad took 500 kunas, which is 66 euros today, from Dad's wallet. Unfortunately, there were 2 bills of 500 kunas glued to each other, and my dad lost 1,000 kunas that day, just like that. He started yelling that he was cheated and asked for his money back. But soon we realized that no one stood up for the truth, and that all these men were one integrated, playful, and dangerous team that, like poisonous spiders, catch their victims into their web, and lead the game.
Riči od mačeva, pogledi od noži, trenuci od primena, sve to na našoj koži. Sudovi bez pitanja, bjesnoća bez misli, zločin iz nehaja. Da smo se bar mimo išli danas, krivi tren, kriva rič, zapalit može ocean, a strpljiva poniznost nacrtat novi dan uz tebe, s tobom, tebi blizu. Tiho, budi tiho i čućeš ure, pusti ure, od njih samo oglušit ćeš. Tiho, budi tiho i vidit ćeš. Viruj, pusti nadu, od nje samo oslipit ćeš.